Hi, this is Rodrigo Fuentes from ListenLoop, and I'm joined by Amy Lavin from Temple University. Amy, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Well, good morning. Hi, Rodrigo. My name's Amy Lavin. As you said, I am an assistant professor here in the Fox School of Business at Temple University with a focus on management information systems. So my role is I teach scads of undergrads, information systems and business analysis, and really how technology adds value to the workforce from a business perspective or with an eye on business. And then my other role is the director of the Masters of Science in Digital Innovation in Marketing program, which is a specialized master's program that we run, again, out of the MIS department and the marketing department here at the Fox School, with a focus on marketing and information systems and sort of bringing those two together.
So digital runs a huge spectrum. What falls under digital innovations, would you say, in your program? I can imagine, of course, email being a backbone of it, but maybe it goes so far as virtual reality in the near future. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So what our courses focus on is, at the beginning is level setting, right? So because we're housed in both marketing and information systems, we try to make sure that our students have a great understanding of the basic marketing concepts. So before you can do anything else, like let's level the playing field, make sure you understand. And then we also spend a good bit of time with our students helping them to understand information systems and how they add value and how that systems thinking is really critical in today's digital environment. Understanding how systems works, understanding how, thinking through things in a system-oriented way will really, sort of further your career. So we kind of start there. And then what we do is we move them into classes of digital brand management. So understanding how your brand works and how to manage it in a digital marketplace. We spend a good bit of time in the semester on data analysis. So one of the things that we found is that as marketers, we understand we need data, but sometimes we don't understand how to get it. So we try to simplify that. So we give our students some tools on how to really look at data and do some analysis and do some visualization, create some infographics, whatever it may be. We give them the ability to get Google Analytics certified because that's a hot skill to have in the market if you're in digital, to understand how Google Analytics works and have a good baseline understanding. And then, Rodrigo, we take our students through user experience design. We take them through process improvement, and then we focus a lot on social media and content and mobile marketing. So we try to give our students a broad breadth of both the technical side and the marketing side. And what we do is we interweave our classes. So you're typically taking a little more technical class and a little more marketing class at the same time, and then building on the skills throughout both classes on how those two pieces interact. Because in today's digital environment, you have to have a good understanding of both the technical and the marketing aspects.
So you mentioned level setting. What level do students come in with typically?
Yeah, so our students come in from a variety of places. We have some students that hit the ground. They are, maybe mid to maybe almost senior level marketers, but they don't have either the credentials, and so a master's degree to kind of take it to the next step. And they've got their eye on digital as where they'd like to be. But they just don't have maybe that technical, credential that they need to add to their resume. So we've got a lot of people with a focus on marketing. We have people that come from the financial industry, people that come from the hospitality industry, people from education. And then we also have on the other side, which is really, I think what causes us to have a pretty interesting dynamic in coursework, is we've got some people that are on the technical side. They're very data driven. They've spent, the last several years really digging into data analysis and understanding the data. But at the end of the day, for them to get credentials, what they're looking to do is build their marketing skill set so that they then know how to use that data and help apply it moving forward.
So now obviously there's a lot of parallels, I think, between digital and non-digital. Marketing for the longest time has been grounded in the non-digital world. And yet recently I find that through some of these interviews and conversations I have with marketers at conferences, there's so much emphasis on digital because it can be measured, because it's so scalable. But sometimes maybe that causes people to lose touch with the non-digital parts of marketing. What is something that a digital native can learn from a marketer who grew up in the non-digital world?
Well, I mean, I think we tell a couple of pretty good anecdotes here about, obviously digital is where the focus is, it's where the jobs are, it's kind of that hot buzzword. But a lot of times when we're recruiting, we still send out postcards through the mail. We'll still create a postcard through the mail. We still will obviously go to conferences and interact with people face to face. And I think what the digital natives can learn is that there is still something you can't build all of your relationships through a simply digital world. And marketing is really a lot about building that relationship and having that relationship with your customer or your prospect. And so there still is a lot to be said for a postcard that someone gets in the mail, or a phone call, or a face-to-face interaction that really helps to, complement what it is you have in your digital environment.
It almost makes me wonder and begs the question, what is digital? I keep coming back to this because, one thing I was thinking was, it's digital if it was aided by software and composed through software and scaled out through software. And I can imagine postcards are a part of that. I know a company called Lob, and I'm thinking PLF can help you create essentially an account-based direct mail campaign, but it's all software. And as a result, it does require a lot of information systems, knowledge and knowledge of digital marketing. And yet the channel is physical. So, in your mind, what is digital marketing then? Is it the composition, or is it the channel that's being used?
That's a great question. I think, to me, digital marketing is, I'm trying to think of the best way to kind of put that thought together, because I think it's pervasive. It really is sort of everywhere. But I would think of digital sort of, when you're growing up, and I probably didn't say this, but my undergrad is in marketing. My first job out of college was in marketing. You had print media, you have, TV advertisements. When I think of digital marketing, I think of all of those ways that we interact with people that are not maybe print based, or maybe not as tangible, and I can't hold it in my hands, or I'm not watching it on TV. Although I think, Rodrigo, like you're saying, the lines are being blurred, because now, we're not watching ads on TV, we're watching them on YouTube. Now we're not watching ads, or we're not maybe looking at ads in magazines, but we're looking at them online while we're on Facebook or something like that. So I think that the lines are blurring, and digital marketing is really just sort of becoming an integral part of marketing. But I think it's sort of like everything else in business, where you're not really sure exactly what to do with it. It's a little different, so you've got to kind of figure out where it fits within you, I guess, in your business strategy.
Absolutely. Let me switch topics. And you mentioned the concept of data analytics, and that being a big part of the coursework, an area where I think companies that are hiring want people to have skills, and students who want to be trained know it's an important part of the marketing process and the marketing job. So how are you thinking about measuring marketing success? How is that being taught as a concept?
So what we do is we try to teach our students, and I actually teach a couple data analytics classes in the business intelligence class. And what I try to have my students walk away with is the ability to understand what the data is saying, and looking for patterns and looking for correlations, and then being able to present it in a way that, the guy who isn't heads down in the data, or the woman who, really just needs an answer at the end of the day, are we successful or not, presenting it in a way that is easily understandable. So how I see the thing about, I guess, success in the data, it depends on what it is you're looking for. So being able to look in the data, find the right numbers, make sure your numbers are accurate, and then present those and be able to talk about them and determine whether or not they make sense. So it's all kind of about the context. Does our click-through rate, is that important? Well, maybe, it might be, but maybe what we're really looking for is our conversion rate. So knowing who your people are, asking questions, and that's something we do also in our courses, is have people understand, what it is that the market is looking for, and then being able to turn around, look through the data using tools like even simple tools that we all have at our fingertips, like Excel, or tool like Tableau or a tool like R Studio to really understand what the data is saying, and then being able to talk about that in a larger group. Because the data analytics folks aren't necessarily the ones that are making the decisions about what's successful or not, but at least they're then serving that information up to the people that need to make those decisions on how we're going to move forward.
That brings up a great sort of tension I hear often. Is the marketer an advocate for a conclusion based on the data, or are they a censor, a presenter of just the facts? How do you see that shaping out?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because at the end of the day, we just want an answer, right? Just dig into the data and tell me that my sales have gone up since last year, or tell me that this campaign is doing what it's supposed to do, or tell me that when I spent this money here, I got what I want. So I think that, I mean, that's an interesting question, because at the end of the day, we really do want an answer. But I think that, the more data we have and the better synthesis we can do or analysis that we can do of it, the story becomes a lot more clear as to what's happening globally, instead of just looking at one number to tell me to give me an answer. And I do think that there is some, I'm trying to think what the word you just used, I can't think of the right word.
Advocate or just the facts.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that there is some need for just the facts, but I think that as we have more data at our fingertips, as we're presenting it in clearer ways that people can understand, and letting the data tell the story, I think that the market will start to depend on that to then help us make our decisions moving forward.
Yeah, and I think the tension that I'm hearing in the market is around the idea that the marketer is being measured, their success as a marketer is being measured on, let's say, marketing qualified leads or sales qualified leads, and yet they have to be the source to report how they're doing themselves, right? Which leads to potentially some conflict of interest.
Sure.
And if they're the ones in the data and have to also conclude on the data presented to stakeholders above them, it does lend to some potentially tense moments.
Sure. Yeah.
Let me switch tracks again and ask you about account-based marketing. This is a term that's been gaining so much buzz. A lot of conferences around the country, in the U.S. at least, are including tracks about this. Where we met at the Internet Summit in Raleigh, there was definitely conversations around it there. Are you familiar with the term?
I'm really not. I'm really strategic approach to business marketing, where an organization considers. I just looked it up. So maybe just tell me a little bit about it. Maybe I just haven't heard that term used.
Yeah, absolutely. So account-based marketing can be described as essentially, number one, sales and marketing agreeing to, number two, target and sell to very specific named accounts that are typically high value or strategic in nature. Number three, through multiple channels, email, phone calls, direct mail, ads, etc. And number four, using a measure of success that is focused on the account rather than an individual lead. That I think is in our opinion, the most precise definition of an account-based marketing approach. Are you seeing that as a trend, at least in the topics that you all are teaching?
I think we are. I guess haven't really looked at it or heard of it called account-based marketing, but I think our focus is on the customer, right, and their journey. And so if you consider the account to be the customer, and that focus on working with an account and tracking how you worked with that account, being able to substantiate, your contacts and your leads, being able to work with those folks to develop a better user experience based on that relationship. And I think marketing, and especially now more than ever, when we're able to reach out to an organization, or an organization is able to reach out to us as marketers on 5 levels or 10 levels, through email and through the phone and through a hangout and, maybe through a tweet. Customers expect to be treated the same regardless of who they speak with. And they also expect that when they pick up the phone, you're going to have an understanding already of who they are. And so I think that account-based marketing is definitely where we're headed. I think through some of our coursework, that's what we're teaching people, is how to just generate that one picture of the account or the organization or the customer, however you want to call it, and be able to provide them with the best experience possible.
Wonderful. So I'm curious, you must come in contact with a lot of interesting innovation in the marketing space. I'd like to hear from you. What do you think is one of the most interesting innovations in the MarTech space in the last year?
I think, for me, what I'm always focused on is data analysis, and that's sort of my personal love. And what I am just constantly amazed with, I'm constantly reading about, is the ability to manage the customer relationship and the ability to understand, through a CRM, through data, through all kinds of information that we have at our fingertips, how an organization who is trying to market to me, even just things as even a personal consumer, where they know, if I'm at home on my my phone at night before I go to bed and I'm looking up, I don't know, baby strollers, right? This is actually something that happened. I was at home at night looking up baby strollers. And the next day I come to work and I pull up my work computer, which is, I'm not logged into Facebook. I don't even use Facebook on my work computer. And somehow through some connection, they're able to start giving me ads for baby strollers online. And so I am constantly amazed at that. I guess it's that connection of customers and who they are and what they're doing. I'm also, I think geolocation is just amazing. Being able to sort of know where I am and what I'm doing and sort of push ads out to me is another thing that just constantly amazes me. And there's a myriad of technical, applications that have come out. I'm amazed at some of the applications and the things that I can do mobily that I couldn't do in the past. Planning a vacation, and just the ability to reach out and through even social media get in touch with a customer service issue. So I think the market is just growing by leaps and bounds. What I think will be interesting is just to see how far we can take it before it starts to feel too personal.
I was about to ask you that. Yeah. I was about to ask you, where do we draw the line between serving relevant information and it being creepy?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I talk about that a lot with both my undergrads and my grad students. At what point does it become creepy? For the generation, above us, I think it's already creepy. It's too close. They don't like it. They just don't want that many people in their business. For you and I think, there's probably a level where it starts to feel a little invasive, but it's probably a lot more convenient. And let's face it, Rodrigo, right? You don't have a lot of time anymore. You're doing things quickly, you're running around. So anything that sort of aids in the convenience of my life makes me happy. I think for the next generation, the students now, it's just what they're used to. Everybody knows everything about everybody. They post everything about themselves online. They send pictures to each other of things that maybe we wouldn't have ever dreamed of sending pictures about. So I think, as it becomes assimilated into your daily routine, it just becomes less creepy.
We're quickly to an Orwellian world where if it's not personalized, God, what's wrong with this company?
Right.
They didn't even bother to get to know me and personalize this for me. Jeez.
Yep. I agree. When you kind of think about when you open up your email account and there's something doesn't even have like Dear Amy. I'm like, all right, delete. You don't know me. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when we were at the summit, we talked about how overwhelmed the marketer is today to learn so many different tools. And you've mentioned a couple just now, the ability to geo-target ads, the ability to do cross-device recognition. I mean, those are two different tools that a marketer would have to use in order to achieve some kind of campaign goal that they have. And that, based on our conversations, is really just two tools out of maybe an average of 13 we've counted for the modern marketer. Everything from your Google Analytics to your data analysis software like R, to things as mundane as each individual ad vendor that you might use, Facebook, LinkedIn, ListenLoop, et cetera, right? You've got your email marketing programs, of course, and all these different pieces of software, which of course, each one individually has multiple vendors offering their own flavor of that piece of technology. How does the modern marketer keep up with all of this?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you my secret. And of course, it won't be a secret now that I'm saying it out loud. But a very long time ago, I was completely overwhelmed by systems. And I was like, I'm not a techie. I don't get it. I just, you just sort of put the blinders on. And then I took a job in consulting where I had to learn how to basically build a system and create a system. They took a chance on me. I took a chance on them because I wanted to get into training, but I had to learn how to utilize the system and build it. And so I spent several months understanding how the system worked, right? And so I spent all this time understanding how the system worked. And what I learned was not only how that system worked, but systems thinking in general. And the thing is that at the end of the day, all of these tools are all systems, right? Someone has sat down and thought, what's the need in the market? How can I fill it? How can I take advantage of this opportunity? And how do I build a system that will do this? And if you can sort of understand that, and if you can understand, and I don't mean to overgeneralize or oversimplify, because I wouldn't have a job if it was quite this easy, but at least if you can understand the basics of how a system works, right? Inputs, outputs, relationships, data behind them, you can apply that knowledge to all systems, right? And then it just becomes a matter of understanding what are the nuances of this system? How does this system work different from that system? But at least you don't feel overwhelmed. So my advice, and I talk to students about this, is pick something that makes sense to you and really dig into it. Really understand it. Take some training classes. Maybe teach yourself how to use the software, use the tool. And then once you understand that, it sort of opens your eyes to the fact that the rest of it you can figure out because you've already managed one. So instead of saying, I need to learn 13 systems to be a good marketer, learn one and really learn it well. And then you can apply that knowledge to the next system that you need to learn and the next system. And you know how to ask the right questions of the right people.
How do you feel that's great, by the way. I really like that idea of systems thinking. That is excellent. How do you feel about a lot of the in-house training that companies are providing? I don't know to what extent it's quote unquote competitive to the coursework that Temple might offer, the Fox School of Business might offer. But have you seen companies offering in-house training for their systems to be a better marketer?
So we do have some of our other faculty members do some corporate training. They will come in and ask us to do like day-long seminar, 2-day-long seminar to kind of get their teams up to speed. I think it's great. I am a big believer, Rodrigo, in education of any kind. I think that if there's an opportunity, if you're in an organization and there's an opportunity to go to training, you should do it. You should take advantage of it because it's 2 days and yeah, your email might pile up and you might have to work that night or something like that. But once you've learned something, you can't unlearn it. And I think that organizations that are investing in their employees to learn a new system is great. And I think the nice thing about bringing in training to your organization instead of not is the people that work in your organization already understand your organization and they already understand your product and your customers. So now when you're training them, and I think the key with the training for that is for the trainer to understand the organization and the customers and be able to focus the training in a way that makes sense for those employees. And that I think is the best bang for the buck. So I think that if getting a master's degree is something you want to do, then absolutely you should do it. We're always sort of in the learning process. But if you're in an organization and you feel that the best thing to do is bring someone in for training for a few days or to send a couple people on your team to training for a few days, I absolutely wholeheartedly stand behind something like that.
Wonderful. Well, let's leave our audience with this. So let's do a bet. We'll check in on it in 5 years if this is still around. What is the likelihood you feel that the marketer of 5 years from now will have to know database SQL to be in the top 50th percentile of their industry?
I don't even know. Do you think they need to know database SQL now?
I don't know. Today, no. I think a lot of people are getting away with it without it.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see some of the quote unquote younger, newer marketers coming out of school with the ability to raw query a database and rip out the data that they need to prove or disprove a hypothesis.
Yeah.
And I think that some marketers today who want that information are being bottlenecked by the engineering team when they have to make a request to them. So
I think you make a great point. I actually teach SQL in my data analysis class, and I tell my students exactly what you just said. If you at least understand how SQL works, and you don't need to be fluent, you don't need to understand everything, but if you at least can write a few queries, the world is your oyster, because no one can tell you no, because you know that the information is there. So I think that's a good bet. I think you're right. Even if it's not per se that they can write it, at least understanding a query tool and how to get information out of the database, I'm with you. I think that's a good bet, that at least 50% will need to know that. And add some digital skills, technical skills.
Awesome, Amy. Thank you so much for the time. Really enjoyed chatting with you. And would you like to leave us with anything before we end our interview?
You know what? I thank you for taking the time to interview me. It was great to meet you at the Internet Summit last week. It was great to meet and see, I think, the promise of digital. I just think it's just an amazing place to be right now. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me about it.
Thank you.